The relationship of the programming of strings or chains or series of related ideas which form together to form concepts. And when those concepts acquire sufficient intensity, they begin to flash up as imagery. And so it's not enough just to tell someone, oh, just visualize that. Imagine yourself. It's not enough. It is the series of related ideas forming concepts, that process of conceptualization that causes the visualization to flash up. You see how that works? That's the true operation of auto-suggestion. Auto meaning automatic as well as self, and flashing up. Now, you can't begin to take action. You can't begin to get the appropriate feeling until you can first get the appropriate image. So we call the process conceptualization, which leads to visualization, which leads to emotionalization. I can see it, and now I can begin to feel it and get excited about it, which leads to taking action. Because you can't get out there and do it until you feel like doing it. Remember I said we spend our lives doing what we feel like doing. Conceptualization, which is the programming part. Visualization leads to visualization. That leads to emotionalization, which leads to actualization, taking action and beginning to do it. So what was difficult for you to do before is now becoming easy for you to do. People have this whole thing in reverse. They think if I can only learn to hypnotize myself, the rest is easy. Programming I can do because it's my mind and my problem and I know how to talk to my mind. Well, you don't. And the fact is that if you don't follow the proper rules, that your own suggestions not only won't create the proper result, it will deepen the very problem that you're trying to overcome. So we'll start with the first rule is to be positive. Eliminate every possible negative word. Don't talk about what you want to move away from. Talk about what you want to move toward. Don't talk about what you want to get out of your life. Talk about what you want to bring into your life. To give you a quick illustration that you'll always remember, I would like you all to close your eyelids down. Close them down. And now I want you to bring into your imagination an image of any animal that you choose, except elephants. Now it is very important for you not to think of elephants. Don't think of African elephants thundering in great herds across the African plain. Don't think of Asian elephants lifting the great teak logs and carrying them to the river. And most importantly, don't think of those Indian elephants with the howdah on their back carrying the Maharaja along the trail. Don't think of pink elephants. Any animal that you choose. I'm giving you your opportunity to select from the vast selection of animals in nature. Just no elephants, please. Open your eyes. No, not, don't are all neutral words as far as your subconscious is concerned. Words are signals that ring bells. The word elephant always will ring the bell to produce an image of an elephant. It's that simple. Now let's take a little, change it and bring it in more into practical application. Here's a young man, and he has a problem in his social relations with females and so on. And another young man, a good friend of his, calls him and says, "Say, I heard about this wonderful party they're throwing over at such and such house tonight, birthday party, and I've been invited, and I asked if I could bring you along, and I was told that I could," and said, "Get ready and come because there's going to be lots of foxy chicken." What do they call them? Chickens and foxes. No.
Foxy chicks.
Foxy chicks are going to be there tonight. Over in London, where Jack comes from, they call them birds. Yeah. Going to be lots of foxy chicks there tonight. It's funny, you can call a girl a chick, but call her a hen and you're in trouble. And so now this young man's all excited. He wants to go because that's what he likes. And he decides he's going to talk to himself, because his pattern is when he goes to a party, he's one of those decides when he gets there, he's going to have a drink or two to steady his nerves, you see. But he gets so steady that no one wants to bother with him. By the time he has 3 or 4 drinks ready to talk to a girl, the way it's coming out, she says, who wants to talk to that drunk? And so he's going to talk to himself about that. And he says, tonight, when I go to that party, I'm not going to be nervous and self-conscious. I'm not going to be frightened and afraid. Which words for him do you think have the greatest emotional energy? Raise your hand and tell me.
Frightened and afraid.
Frightened, afraid, self-conscious. Why do they have the greatest energy? Because they're his experience in those situations. And the very mention of them triggers off that reaction in him. What should he say instead? Positive, creative ideas to create an image, a scene of what he wants. I like people. I enjoy meeting new people. I especially enjoy meeting women. As I arrive at the party tonight, as I walk through the door, there's an expectant smile on my lips, a twinkle in my eye. I enjoy talking to women. I enjoy dancing with a woman. I enjoy sharing a meal with a woman. Women are aware that I like them, and they return the feeling to me, and so on. You see, there we're creating, very simply but very powerfully, the kind of situation that this man is interested in experiencing. We're not painting a picture of the experience he doesn't want. Is that clear to you? Be positive. The second principle is use the present tense. Now, all of you have taken English, and all of you have learned about such things as tense and grammar and mood, all the syntax of language. But when dealing with the subconscious mind, we're not concerned with the rules of grammar. You say, well, it hasn't happened yet. How can I use the present tense? If it's not going to happen until next month or next week, I say, I will be. I will express. Nope. The subconscious mind is an existential mind. That means it's only in the moment. It's true that you can remember the past, and it's true that you can imagine the future, but you can only experience your response to the memory or imagining in the moment. And that's what we have to deal with, your emotional response. To use the present tense means we create a picture of it happening now, this instant, because the future tense is always a New Year's resolution. And you know what happens to those. We're here, and I'm going to start getting this all together up here. See, that's when? Next week, next month, just as soon as things quiet down, right after the holidays, as soon as my in-laws leave, I'm going to start. And strangely enough, that relationship between our desire and our implementation of the energy always stays at that distance. That's really, I used the term earlier, catastrophic expectations. That's a different kind of expectation. It's kind of idle daydreaming. It goes like this. As I look at these images, one of these old rainy days, I'm really going to put it all together. Won't that be grand? I can see it now. I'll go to the mailbox and take out, there will be a letter from my father. As I open it up, the first thing I'll see are the stains of his dried tears all up and down the paper, as he tells me how sorry he was that he said I'd never amount to anything, and how proud he is of me now that I have finally put it all together. Boy, that's really going to be a grand day when I get around to that. Almost like a little message that could be put up on the tombstone. He had the best of intentions. What about behavior, very specific behavior? Opening night. Now, everybody knows what stage fright is, especially opening night. So that's when? That's 3 months off. October 19th. You begin. On October 9th, or October 19th, as I step onto the stage, I am calm and poised and relaxed. I speak easily. I deliver my lines fluently. My actions are perfectly tuned in time, and so on. I'm speaking in the present tense, although I'm speaking about future behavior in a very specific time. Now, you must be careful to avoid the past as well. For when you talk about the past, you're reminding yourself of behavior that you wish to change. So if you say, from now on, I'm not going to have violent temper explosions toward my wife and children every time I get upset and so on. Again, you're being negative, you're reminding yourself. Talk about what you're going to do. I speak with love and understanding to my children, and they in turn feel good toward me. And as you carefully delineate that in the present tense, you begin to create the image of what you want to do and how you want to do it. And that conceptualization will begin to lead to the visualization, which will alter your feelings and enable you to do it. Begins to make a lot of sense now, doesn't it? Yeah. See, this part is what we use when we've developed the trance, and I'm going to put these two together for you in a few minutes. Now, sometimes you must use a form, a variation of the present tense. And that form is called the progressive form of the present tense. And it means simply, suppose you have a long-standing condition, let's say a nervous stomach. It's not appropriate to begin to suggest, my stomach is strong and well and perfect, and I digest my food easily and perfectly every meal. Because then the first time your stomach begins to tighten up again, you're liable to feel that old familiar response. Oh, it's not working for me. Nothing ever works for me. But instead, use the progressive form. Each day, my stomach grows stronger. Each day, I digest my food easier than I did the previous meal. Each day, I am calmer, and each day, my stomach is more relaxed. So by putting it into increments. See, if you had a broken leg, were out on a skiing trip and you broke your leg, and you had it in a cast, and you say, my leg is strong and well and perfect, there's a part of your mind says, then why are you wearing the cast? But if you say each day, the healing powers of my creative intelligence is healing, strengthening, and making more powerful than ever before my left leg. Each day my leg is stronger. This tremendously accelerated, rapid healing is occurring in me right now. Now, if you don't think that accelerated healing can occur, I'm going to tell you a story. My wife's grandmother, at 86, had her own apartment, an apartment house in Los Angeles, and there were lockers in the basement, and she was going down to her locker to get something out and fell down the stairs and broke her ankle in 3 places. She was unable to summon help. She got up those stairs, and she went up to the 3rd floor, which was really 6 flights of stairs. Then she called us. I came down with my wife. We picked her up, took her into the doctor's where they immediately x-rayed her. They said it would be, I don't know, so many months, 10 10 months, no, it would be 6 months before she could put her weight on that foot. And so after 4 or 5 days in the medical hospital, she was transferred to a recuperative hospital. Now that's a euphemism because a lot of the people in there have degenerative senility and things like that, and they're just stored in there until they die. And it's a lot of unpleasant sights. I recall one lady would sit in a wheelchair and just trace a pattern on the wallpaper all day long and just say mama, 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 endlessly. And so Louise, we came to visit her almost every day, and she was from Germany, and Louise had a great power of mind. And she said, I've got to get out of here. So they told her not to put any weight on the foot, and when they weren't looking, she was walking around the bed. And she was out of there in half of the time. The x-rays showed the healing, and that cast was off, and she was back to full use of her leg, and amazed everyone. The doctor says, just incredible how rapidly that healing took place. Louise wanted to get out of that hospital. She was made very unhappy and uncomfortable. She realized that she could be one of those. And using the power of her mind in her way, she speeded up the healing and confounded medical science. So we've talked now about being positive. Remember, think of no elephants. Use the present tense. And the next principle is to be specific. To be specific means don't say things like every day and every way I'm getting better and better. That doesn't create any images of any kind. It's too vague. It's too general. It means isolate a single area that you wish to work on. Then begin to create your programming in that area. Now you notice in the programming you just listened to, all of it was about acting and performing and all the elements relating to that. There were no generalities in there. To be specific means to follow the old biblical injunction that says, look with a single eye. To say it differently, focus all of your energy in one single area. How long do you work in a single area? Until you see some result. That might be in a day. It might be in a month. If you've worked with a program for 30 days and you're not getting any measurable result, you can't measure it. No one around you has said, hey, I see you're changing and I like it. If you can't measure any result, then it may be a number of things. You may not have developed an appropriate program. It may be written incorrectly. Or you may be focusing in the wrong area. Now suppose you have a number of things you want to work on. How do you decide? Well, there are a lot of, suppose it's situational. You're preparing for a major examination, a career examination, taking the bar or whatever. Then obviously, based on the time that you have to get ready, you have to make a decision. If you've got 6 weeks and then you're going to take the bar, and if I had 6 weeks and I were taking the bar and I wanted to work on several things, I would work only on preparing for the bar examination through my self-hypnosis. Then after that's out of the way, because that's situational, you see, then I might begin to deal with something else. And so, other than that, you look at these goals you've set for yourself, these changes you wish to effect, and you say, what's the most important one in my life right now? Give it a priority. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7. But here's the surprise. Don't start out with number 1. Instead, go down the list and let your first programming be on 5 or 6 or 7. Why? Well, you see, in the beginning, you must think of this inner power that you're taking control of as a newborn infant. It's going to grow very rapidly and become very powerful. But in the beginning, it's got to be nurtured. So you don't want to start using it in a very important goal in which there's likely to be a lot of subconscious energy invested, you want to get a couple successes first, because that will rapidly expand your confidence in your ability to use your own energy in your own behalf. Now, there are some other rules, and I'm going to run over them very quickly, because in the printed material that I gave you, all of these rules are fully defined and explained. And so, we've spoken about be positive, speak in the present tense, be specific, and the next principle is to be detailed. That means don't try to do it like a bumper sticker. I am always enthusiastic. Always? How about at a funeral? Of course, I guess that depends on whose funeral it is. And if you're mentioned in the will. There's a story about Louis B. Mayer called Hollywood Raja. And he was a very hated man in the motion picture industry because of his character and the way he dealt with people. And tells the story of his death and funeral, and two actors at the funeral, and one said, "Isn't it amazing? Here's a man who was one of the most hated men in our business." No, it wasn't Louis B. Mayer, it was Harry Cohn, C-O-H-N, Columbia Studios. Said, "Isn't it amazing? Here was Harry Cohn, one of the most hated men in our industry, and look around. Everyone who has ever been anyone in this industry is here today at his funeral." And the other actor said, "Well, you know, that's show business. If you give the public what they want, they'll turn out for it." To be detailed means isolate every element of the problem and program suggestions in that area. Very quickly now, here is the self-program a person who suffers from a fear of public speaking might use. I'm afraid of people. I'm especially afraid when I stand up to speak to an audience. As I begin to speak, my mouth feels dry, my lips feel stiff and not under my control. I feel as if I'm breathing right up here in my throat. My voice isn't projecting more than an inch or two past my lips. My legs are quivering and shaking beneath me, and I know that everyone in the audience can see it. I don't know what to do with my hands. I wish they'd just disappear. I'd like to make a gesture, but it's going to come out just sawing the air. I know I'm supposed to say something humorous and be a little bit light, but I never have been able to tell jokes. I hate speaking to an audience. Every one of them out there is thinking critical thoughts of me right now. I look at the clock and I see my time is almost up, and I forgot 2/3 of what I meant to say. But now the worst is yet to come, because when I finish, there will be those hypocrites who feel they have to applaud. And then there's the worst bunch of hypocrites after I finish are going to come up and tell me that was really a good talk. Why don't they just leave me alone in my shame and my mortification? How do you do that? You take each sentence and you flop it over, and it comes out like this with a positive antonym. I like people. I enjoy speaking to people. I especially enjoy talking to an audience. As I begin speaking, I feel a wave of friendship and understanding flowing from every member of the audience to me, and I in turn feel friendly to them. I want to do things for them. As I begin speaking, my lips are flexible, my mouth is moist, my breathing is deep from the diaphragm. My legs are strong beneath me, my hands are poised and calm. The gestures flow spontaneously and freely. There's a smile within me which comes to my lips at appropriate times. I speak easily and freely with a full release of all of my knowledge and skill, for I thoroughly enjoy talking to an audience. When my talk is concluded, I feel warm and gratified by the applause, and I speak graciously and with full self-confidence to those who congratulate me after my talk. So you see, I took all of the negative suggestions, I turned each one over, found the positive antonym, and that's the way you develop a program. That was really a very short program, and it could apply as well as to speaking, to singing, dancing. You see, anything that you have a feeling of shyness and reluctance about. Just to finish off, we avoid perfectionism in our programming. You'll find all of these explained in your handout that I gave you. We talk about action and not about ability. We don't say, I know I have the ability to. That doesn't say anything. Talk about I do, I express, I realize, I am. If you follow these rules, and also in the lesson, you'll find about 12 suggestions written by graduate students, all of whom got tremendously powerful results from them. Use them as models and practice writing programs until you know you have the knack. And then you too will enjoy that very same kind of success in realizing the goals that you've set for yourself. Right now, we're going to close down for just a few minutes. And so the first step is to write out your program. Until you've written it out, you don't really have any idea of what you want. All you have is a collection of hazy and nebulous ideas that come into your mind and then leave again, and a little bit different the next time. But the moment you begin to write out your program, you are now crystallizing the concepts that relate to your goal. At this point, you can begin to edit it, revise it, expand it, condense it, keep checking it against the rules that I just gave you as to whether or not you followed all of those rules for greatest effectiveness in your program. And now you'll come to a place where you're satisfied and you kind of develop the feeling, if I can get these ideas accepted at a subconscious level where they will become the basis for my behavior, then I know that I will truly change. And so the next step is to get ready to hypnotize yourself. Oh no, I've left out one step. The next step is to create a symbol. Now what is a symbol? It's a word or a phrase that by implication stands for all of the content of your program. For example, suppose you had a couple of pages of programming and they were designed, that programming was designed to increase your self-confidence. The symbol might be something as ordinary as dynamic self-confidence. And you use the symbol in this way. You begin in your written form, dynamic self-confidence is the symbol for the following ideas. And then you begin your programming. However, it's even better if you personalize it. Rather than just take an abstract kind of a phrase. I remember a man in one of our classes some years ago, and he described his problem like this. He said, I've always been emotionally detached. He said, it's in recent years I realized I just won't allow myself to become emotionally involved, not just with people, he said, but with a job. Or I said, I just don't make commitments. He said, and I never realized how serious that was until I saw the film Zorba the Greek. He said, I identified with the Englishman as I saw that contrast between Zorba, who made such a commitment to the moment, who celebrated everything, victory and defeat, and even celebration of death. He said, as the dancing took place, with Zorba dancing to celebrate, and I wondered, could I celebrate life in that quality and with that passion? And so he said, I want to choose as a symbol for my expression, for my programming, the name Zorba the Greek. And I said, that's wonderful. I urge you to do it. And about 2 weeks later, he said, you know, every time I hypnotize myself and I use that symbol, I can hear the music. I can see Zorba dancing. And I'm beginning to get the feedback of my own suggestions. And so you see how meaningful that was to him, to find a word or a phrase. Another gal, she was having trouble losing weight. And this is years earlier. Her husband had come to class first, and he finally came up with a concept. And it was Army uniform. Now, he had struggled with his weight control, and then one day he was cleaning out a closet and came across his old Army uniform. And he said, I slipped on the coat, and it was then I realized how big I had become from those Army days. And I could remember what great shape I was in, and how I was able to do that obstacle course, and I was the best at it. And he said, so I just decided that that was my symbol. He said, every time I think program myself, and then later when I think of Army uniform, all of those ideas and feelings, he said, automatically I'm pulling in my stomach, I'm straightening up my shoulders, I'm standing erect. And he said, I use it especially at mealtime, and I find that I'm eating less. So you see how the symbol, that's the way your mind works. Remember, we used the illustration a while back. We said, pour yourself a glass of gusto, and you immediately translated it, you see, to Schlitz beer. Well, you can create your own symbol. That symbol goes at the beginning, and it goes at the end. And in the handout that I gave you, I said there's about a dozen good programs, and each of them have the use of a symbol, so you get a fuller understanding of it. All right, now, you've written your program, you've developed your symbol, now get ready to hypnotize yourself. What does getting ready mean? Well, first you should establish a place where you're going to do this. Might be the bedroom, the den. Once you've decided where you're always going to do it, your next decision should be to see that that environment is appropriate. Now, what does that mean? Well, suppose it's the bedroom, and on the other side of that wall is the television set, and the rest of the family are over there listening to the television. And you've found in the past you can come in and kind of doze off even with the television playing. When you go into a trance, your hearing is more sensitive, and the sounds of that, maybe the theme music of Cheers or whatever it is that you like to watch, is going to start triggering thoughts that will interfere with your process. So now you have two options. Either you get a set of earplugs, or you say to the family, I'm going in to hypnotize myself, and I'm going to be about 30 minutes. We have to leave the television off or turn it down low. Now, a lot of you ladies especially have great difficulty in reserving time for yourself. You know, say, well, I'll wait till I get the kids in bed and the dishes done and so on. Listen, think of those teenage kids, or maybe when you were a teenager, you might have been studying meditation, and you said to the family, I'm going in my room to meditate, and I don't want anyone to disturb me for the next half hour. That's the same attitude you've got to have. Check out the environment. Don't attempt to hypnotize yourself in a room where there's an air conditioner blowing across, a current of air across you, or fans, or even cross ventilation. Your skin surface becomes very sensitive when you're in a trance, and that will inhibit your letting go. It's better for the room to be a little too warm than to be too cool. Think about that as well. You may want to have a blanket. Just pull it up over you. As your body relaxes, your veins and arteries relax as well, and your blood pressure automatically drops. That means that your body temperature may drop a quarter degree, a half a degree, a degree. Some of you that are very sensitive to that will feel cold. So you'll check out these things and make adjustments. One lady told me that she finally discovered she could go into trance best when she removed her clothing and she had a nice, soft, kind of fleecy robe. And she just pulled down the bed covers and wrapped herself in that robe and lay there on her bed. And that worked best for her. So it may take a little experimentation for you to find just the right set of circumstances. If the room you're going to lie down in is next to the kitchen, remember, the cooking smells, you become used to them. And so if you've been cooking fish or something other that's filled the air with cooking smells, your subconscious will continue responding to those when you're in a trance. Might give you thoughts of food, might stimulate your appetite. So if that's the case, take a little odorless air wick and spray the room 10 minutes before you go in. In short, I want you to maximize your potential for responding. Another thing is test the times. Some good times to hypnotize yourself in the beginning, about an hour after your dinner. 7:30 is a good time. Don't wait till you get into your bed at night, because you'll develop the habit of relaxing and then going to sleep. And then at another time, later, you'll go to hypnotize yourself at 3 in the afternoon, and you'll have the habit of going to sleep when you do that, you see. So unless you suffer from insomnia, don't use that tape at night or hypnotize yourself for purposes of programming. Instead of lying on the bed, take a pillow and lie down on the floor as you've done here. Your mind doesn't associate lying on the floor with going to sleep, unless you're one who sleeps on the floor, in which case lie on the bed. Later, you might discover, as many do, that to get up a half hour, to awaken a half hour early in the morning and to do it then is a very effective time to kind of set the tone for the day. All right, now you've prepared the environment. The next thing to do is to take your program. Remember, you've written it, you've edited it and revised it and polished it, and you've gotten it now down to a script that suits you at a feeling level. But I must interject one thing here. Sometimes you've done that job very well and you look at it and you say, well, they're beautiful ideas, but they really don't apply to me. You cannot measure programming in terms of true or false. Because when you do, you say, well, that says that I'm lovable and people respond to me because of my integrity, and none of that's true about me. I'm just an old nothing. Well, if good, positive, powerful, creative ideas about you and your relationship to the world are not the truth about you, what is the truth about you? Is the truth about you the vicious, perverted, distorted lies that you have come to accept about yourself, that you feel you must cover up because if people ever saw you, they wouldn't like you a bit? If that's the truth, how did it get to be the truth about you? Were you hurled into this world by some evil, malevolent creator who chose to see you suffer all of your life from these ideas? You know better than that. You assimilated the ideas through your experiences as you grew and your interpretations of those experiences. If you wanted to drive turn a screw into the wall, and you went to the tool cabinet, you picked out a little hand drill, you wouldn't say, is the drill true or false? You say, is this the tool I need to get this job done? And that's all you can ask about these programs. If I am successful, when I am successful in internalizing these ideas into my subconscious mind, will they produce the result that I want? If the answer is yes, then they are indeed the very truth about you. For ideas only stimulate, motivate, and generate action. The truth about you is, and some of you don't even like to hear it, it makes you uncomfortable, that you're a divine creature, that you're perfect, and that you have an unlimited potential. Your potential is infinite in nature. You can only dimly perceive it at any given time, but it continues to open up as you move toward it. It continues to expand infinitely as you move toward it. When does it end at the end of your life? Think of all the great people in history. Did their influence upon the world and the universe end because they died? Did the great principles of Abraham Lincoln die when he died? Or of any great person? And so our ability to program energy out into the world, into the universe, is infinite in nature, just as our potential is. When you think of your potential, I'm going to give you one idea that will help you to understand your relationship to your potential, which is infinite in nature. I acquire all of the knowledge, all of the skill, and all of the tools that I need to realize my fullest potential and to actualize my deepest nature and to fill all of my deepest needs as I continue my movement toward it. Now the key word there is movement. You have got to move toward your potential, taking some kind of action. Now remember, in an earlier segment I said evil exists out there. You know the blind alleys that you can go up that are not moving you toward your potential, they're removing you from your potential. They're the kind of things, the kind of anti-life behavior we've talked about. And that all that a program of self-discovery and self-realization demands from you is the discipline of using your creative intelligence, which knows what you need, and continuing taking action. Someone said to me on the break, "You really have it made. Why, you're the president of the National Association and of the State Association, and you've got the largest and most successful hypnotherapy school. You own your own publishing firm. You sell your books around the world. You have affiliate schools around America and in other countries. How does it feel?" I said, "I appreciate the continuing discipline of 32 years of effort to come to this point." They said, "Well, what is your goal? Haven't you realized it now?" I said, "No, back there more than 30 years ago, all I wanted to be was an effective hypnotherapist. And I realized that, and I wanted to be more effective and to maximize my effectiveness." I said, "Well, what is your goal now?" And I said, "To be known as the most effective hypnotherapist in the history of hypnotherapy, past and present, and hopefully in the future for a long time." But I couldn't have even conceptualized that goal back there. I had to come to this position where that goal is in my grasp, where I'm on the launching pad, where I know I'm going into orbit, where I feel myself leaving the ground toward that goal. So don't delude yourself when you're developing a program and say, "Oh, beautiful words and phrases, but not the truth about me." There is no term, no matter how powerful it may be, that is not the truth about you. All reductive and minimizing and pejorative terms are lies that either you've accepted because others have told them to you, or they give you excuses and benefits to maintain those lies, to maintain those delusions. You must awaken from the trance. This process is dehypnotizing. First, so you can surrender your slavish adherence to the lies you've accepted about yourself and recognize your divinity. Only a human being can be all that an animal can be and more. Only a human being can go beyond the instinct of animal life. And we are participants in the ascent of man. Our individual effort is part of that ascent. And we cannot turn back. We cannot slow the progress. We cannot refuse to move toward our potential, because in doing so, we attempt to betray ourselves and everyone who went before us. Now that you see your own efforts at self-sabotaging and its connection to everything that went before, you may feel a greater sense of responsibility about your need to be all that you can be. You first fill that need, that lowest level of need for food, shelter, and clothing. Then you get some level of satisfaction and acceptance, affection, love, and approval. And now you're to the biggie, the need to actualize yourself. That's what I've been talking about. Now, you can't get there until you work on some of these other problems. If you feel unlovable, that means you're engaged in a vicious process of self-hatred. The psychologist softens it. He says, oh, it's alienation from the self. Rubbish! It is a vicious, hateful assault on yourself. Who in all the world are you as mean to as you are to yourself? And I urge you, I implore you, I beseech you, I beg you to start treating yourself in a nourishing way. Because that's a necessary step so that you can begin to reveal yourself to the world around you. Everyone seems to have a belief that they must conceal parts of themselves in order to be intimate. Revelation breeds intimacy. You are more intimate with me because I've revealed myself to you this weekend. And the revelation just didn't come in the expression of philosophy and creative ideas. It came when I told you bits and pieces and personal parts of me. My family life, my past life, my defeats. And out of that revelation, we share an intimacy. It's a lie to think that concealing yourself. The encounter movement of the 60s, the intensive encounter, failed and is no longer with us because it promised much more than it delivered. But we did learn one thing in those encounter groups, that the more a person revealed themselves as deeply as they could to the group, the more intimate and loving the group became to them. All right. So now you've written this program and you're ready to hypnotize yourself. The next step is to read. You haven't hypnotized yourself at all. Read the program aloud. Do not read it silently. In reading silently, we're accustomed to scanning and skipping. And when that program has been properly developed, every word is significant. So you're going to read it aloud. Why do you read it aloud? Well, you're using a number of avenues to your subconscious mind. When you read it, you're using the organ of sight. When you speak it, that's the second avenue you're pursuing. As you speak it, you hear it. That's a third avenue. You are pre-programming. One said yesterday, well, before you were actually giving the suggestion, my hand was rising ahead, and I said, yes, because I pre-programmed you. I told you what I'm going to do, and this is what you're going to do. Pre-program. It's like loading a gun in advance. Then when you get into the trance, you pull the trigger, you see. Now, you've read the program aloud. You're stretched out into a comfortable position. The best position is on your back, or maybe if you can't do that, in a comfortable, easy chair. Now, you do exactly as you do when listening to the tape. You fix your eyes at a spot on the wall or on the ceiling. Stare at that spot for about 15 seconds, just to eliminate all visual distraction. You take 3 deep breaths. Each time you exhale, you say mentally, sleep now. Because why do you say those words? That's the words that are on the tape. That's the words that you've become conditioned to. And if you try to say now sleep, it won't work as well. If you say any other combination of phrases, it won't work as well for you. You're not conditioned to those words. On or before the third time that you exhale and say the word sleep now, let your eyelids close down. Now don't be concerned about if they want to close on the first time. Just let them close on the first breath, or the second breath, or the third breath. Some people say, gee, I have difficulty holding them open until the third breath. Don't let that affect you. Close your eyelids down whenever you wish to, first, second, or third breath. Now, just as soon as your eyelids close down, you'll begin to feel that wave of relaxation in the same way that you felt it while listening to the tape. Why? Because you've been internalizing the tape. And your subconscious knows, I'm here to do this, just as I was here to do this when I turned on the tape. And it'll begin to play back. Many of the students over the years report they hear my voice speaking to them, just as they do from the tape. Well, that's right. You just took it from the tape recorder on the tape and put it into the great tape recorder in your head. You'll all have favorite songs and ballads and operatic arias, and all you have to do is focus on it, and you can hear your favorite tenor, your favorite soprano singing it. Luciano Pavarotti. Now the next thing that you do is you imagine a clock. That clock is a very large clock. And the hands of the clock are set for 10 minutes from the time that you start this self-hypnosis process. In the beginning, 10 minutes. Later, you can do it for longer periods of time. But in the beginning, 10 minutes. Then you make this suggestion to yourself. This is all done mentally. In exactly 10 minutes from now, my eyelids will automatically. I'm calm, rested, refreshed, relaxed, and I feel good. See the hands of the clock. Look at your watch as you lie down. It's now 7 o'clock. So in your imagination, you see those hands set at 10 past 7. Next step. Speak your symbol, that word or phrase that is linked to your programming that you just read a few minutes earlier. The key here is, take it easy. Don't try to punch it home. Just speak it lightly once, twice, 3 times. Then let your mind drift where it will. Don't try to remember the wording of the suggestions, but let your mind just float wherever it will. At the end, and don't try to calculate the passage of time. Don't say it must be 3 minutes or 6 minutes or 8 minutes. The way that students report that the subconscious tells them it's time to terminate the trance, some just say, my eyes just suddenly popped open. Others will say, I just became aware that it was time to open my eyes. Some say they hear a little alarm going off. If you wear one of those little digital watches, some report they hear that going off. Even though they didn't set it, it's just going off inside their head. When you get up, look at your watch, your clock, and check the time. You should be within a minute or 2 at the most of that 10 minutes you've set for yourself. After you've successfully done 10 minutes for 3 or 4 times, move it up to 20. And after 20, move it to 30 and 40 until you can put yourself into a trance and tell yourself, I'm going to lie there an hour and automatically terminate it. You can do it. Tens of thousands of others. I've taught this, as I told you, I don't know, somewhere around 24,000 people now. And these principles work perfectly. Now, if you want to terminate the trance in some other way, there's one other way you can do it. There's a little difficulty with this. You see, if you give that pre-programming of 10 minutes, and then your awareness drifts away, as many of you say, the subconscious will terminate the trance. This method depends on your mind being focused enough to realize you want to say this. But if at that point it is, you simply say, I'm going to count to 5. At the count of 5, my eyes are open and I'm fully aware and I feel good, just as it says on the tape. And then count yourself up. But be sure to put those same good, positive, powerful, creative suggestions designed to bring you up with a feeling of well-being and euphoria. The first few times that you begin to use your programming, don't be concerned if you feel a little bit of negative energy. One woman came and she and her sister had operated a dance studio. And now her sister had gotten married. She was 37, quite attractive, and this was her problem. She said, I always said, well, I've just never found the right man. I've had lots of men in my life, but one, he wasn't enough concerned with financial security, and then there was another one, all he thought about was money. And she said, I found something wrong with every one of them over the years. I had numerous proposals and didn't marry any of them. I had lots of good times, and I had the good company of my sister, and she's now married and gone, and I'm alone. And I realized that it's my problem inside me. Because lots of women would have been delighted to marry any one of a number of men that I turned down. And so I helped her to develop programming affirmation. I said, now here's an all-purpose affirmation that is perfect for you. It's got to be repeated several times throughout your program. I accept myself as a lovable person. I easily express love and approval. I eagerly accept the love and affection that surrounds me now. And so we wrote all that out. And she came in the following week and she said, you know, the strangest thing happened to me. I did exactly as you said. I got ready to read it, and I said, I accept myself as a... And my throat closed. My heart began pounding. I broke out into a sweat. I tried again. She said, I couldn't get the words out, a lovable person. So I had to change it to, I accept myself as a likable person. I said, isn't that the very truth that we've struck right down to the central core of the problem? A man isn't going to marry you because you're likable. He's going to marry you because you're lovable. And the fact that you can't even speak the words in the privacy of your own bedroom is the dead proof that that's the very nature of the problem. See? And she was able to understand that. Now, it took her a while. I said I like happy endings. It was almost 18 months later that I attended her wedding. And to this day, she sends me nice notes and home-baked cookies and things at Christmas time. So don't be concerned if initially you feel a little negative response to your suggestions. That's the old forces fighting back. But you're going to overcome them. You're the general and you have a mighty army, and you know now the power of your forces to overcome the evil of negative thinking and feeling. Now, as you continue to work in this manner, you will find that when you say the symbol, whole phrases will flash up automatically from your suggestion. You see? You're getting the true action of auto-suggestion. You'll find that you'll begin to, after a while, just think of your key words consciously, and words and images will begin to flow up. Now you've really got it working for you, haven't you? I like to attach a little signal to it. Let's say it's something that has to do with performing, or in a given situation, or taking an examination. I like to have my students say, cross the first two fingers, take a deep breath, and then say two words as a key phrase. You see, if it's like examination, calm, poised, and perfect recall. Say that mentally as they begin the examination, because that acts as a trigger to release all of those programming ideas and affirmations from where they have been stored in the subconscious mind. Now the process is really very simple. I have taken it apart, element by element, so that you could see it and assemble it, just like you put a jigsaw puzzle together, and now you look at the beauty of the picture and you say, gee, that was really easy, and I can see it clearly now. There were a few questions about making tapes for oneself. I make tapes for myself. Let's talk first about the person. People say, shall I use it in the first person and speaking to myself and say I? Shall I use it in the second person and say you? I address my subconscious mind as you. I've talked to many creative people. A man who had a large firm that created medical instruments, I'm trying to think of the word, gauges of various kinds. And when he came into class, and I came to this point, he said, well, I've done that for years. He said, I'll be working on an invention, and it kind of gets stuck, and finally at one point, I just, in bed at night, I'd say to my subconscious mind, all right, Charlie. Said, I call my subconscious Old Charlie. That wasn't his name, by the way. So I just tell my subconscious, all right, Old Charlie, I'm turning it over to you. He said, I keep a pad right by my bedside, and he said, I bought one of these pens that when you press down, a little light inside goes on so you can write at nighttime. And he said, many times I've awakened in the morning and there's a drawing or a formula, and I don't even remember waking up to write it, but it's there. And indeed, someone earlier on the break was telling me about the same kind of a response. Who are you that told me that earlier this morning? Wasn't it you? Talking that your subconscious mind gave you the answer to a problem?
Yesterday, yes.
Yeah.
Problem in detail.
Yeah. Stand up and talk about that so it can be heard on the microphone, how your subconscious gave you the answers.
Just working out details in my construction or problems I've had, and when I can't work them out, I'll go to bed and say, okay, now you know how far you've gotten and you know where you've got to go, and then just sleep out and work on it. And there have been times where I would be either in the middle of the night, I'd wake up and go, oh yeah, that'll work, and then after that step will work in place. Or it would be in the morning. But it would usually work on big problems for me.
All right. So that's just another example of many, that the subconscious does solve problems. But you must trust it. You must turn it over to it. You must know that that great source of power and wisdom and energy is within you. Your divinity is not just transcendental up in the cloud somewhere. It is transcendental and immanent. That energy that animates the universe flows through you in a very special way that enables you to be the creative creature on the planet. Isn't that exciting? Just to think about. So, if you're concerned at first, shall I say I, shall I say you, you might use your programming, use the first tense, first person, and then repeat it in the second person. Lie down, listen to it. See how you respond best. But that is linked to another idea. And that idea is, how well do you respond to your own voice? As opposed to how well will you respond to, say, a hypnotherapist's voice on a tape. And that's a good question, because in the beginning, you see, you don't really have yet very much belief in yourself and in your ability to direct your own energy. So sometimes you have to be weaned away from maybe a tape that you have found is useful, that was made to you by a Gil Boyne and Al Murata and so on, and make your own tape and play them alternately, so you begin to get a blending of the energy. One day I play this one, and the other day I play my own, which is a variation of that one that I wrote for myself and recorded for myself, you see. And slowly you build confidence in your own response to yourself, so that at a later time, when you need to, you will speak the word, and the word shall become flesh. I want you to think about this. The professional athlete, the one who is the superstar, is the one who on the final play of the game can kick a field goal longer than anyone has kicked it before. On the final play of the game, it's the wide receiver who can leap higher and out-jump and outrun two defensive backs and one-handed catch the ball in the end zone for the score that wins the championship game. It's the player, when the score is tied in the bottom of the ninth, and he stands there and he gets the winning hit, and he expected to, he believed that he would, and he does, much more of the time than anyone else of all the players in the major leagues does, you see. How is that taking place? Because of his mental expectancy. Because he knows that there's a center of power and strength and energy within him. And when he calls upon it in a crisis, it responds for him. And he says, I can do it. Everyone was amazed not too long ago in this season when at the buzzer, Magic Johnson shot a ball from way down the other end of the court, and it went right through. Didn't touch anything but string. Magic Johnson is one of the great superstars of the game, and everyone knows it. And you know that he has an expectancy that when he needs to do something that others say impossible, he's going to go ahead and make the effort, and he has a feeling that it's quite possible that my effort will be successful. That's the kind of mental expectancy that makes champions. Now, we can't all be champions in athletics or in any open display where we have an audience, but we can be champions in our own milieu. We can create an inspiring role model for our children, for our associates, for the people at work. One man said to me, his son went to work in a unionized place, and after a while, the union organizer came over and said, listen, you're new here, just slow down, take it easy. Don't you know pretty soon you'll have the management raising the output for all of us. He told his father, he said, I like working quickly, I like getting the work done. And his father said, son, for now all I can tell you is, work as fast as you can when the others aren't watching you. So he said, your options may be restricted, but go ahead and do what you can do. It's time for an exercise, and I'm going to show you. Everyone sit back comfortably in your chair, place your 2 feet down flat upon the floor. Fix your eyes up to a spot on the wall or on the ceiling. Take a deep breath now. Exhale. Sleep now. Now a second, an even deeper breath. Exhale. Sleep now. Now a third deep breath. Exhale. Sleep now. Eyelids closed down. And I want you now to imagine that you are standing in front of a house. This is an unusual house. It's 12 feet high, 12 feet wide, 36 feet long. There are 3 rooms, one behind the other, and this structure stands over a basement. There are 3 steps that lead up to the house. I want you to walk up and open the front door. And as you do, you step into the first room. It's a very unusual room because there's only one piece of furniture in the room. It's a reclining chair. But the carpeting, the walls, and the ceiling are all a beautiful sunny yellow, including the upholstery on that chair. But the chair looks so inviting, you walk over to it, you sit down in it, and you just push it back into the reclining position. And you feel so relaxed, and as you do, you let your mind drift to a pleasant experience of the past 30 days. Pleasant experience of the past 30 days. And now that memory causes you to feel even more relaxed, but it's time to get up from the chair and move on to the next room. And so now you are getting up from the chair, you move to the second doorway and step inside. This room is almost identical to the first, except the color is gold. This is the gold room. And there's that reclining chair in the center of the room. And since your experience was so good the first time, you walk to that reclining chair, you sit down in it, and now you just lean back. And as you do, you bring into your mind the memory of a very pleasant experience of the past 12 months, the past year. All right, it's time to get up from that chair. You move into the third room, and this is the blue room, exactly like the first two, except for the color. You walk to that chair, you sit down in it, and you lean back. But as you lean back, there's something very interesting occurring. What's occurring is that the chair now is on a hydraulic hoist, and it begins to move down, and it's going down into that lower level, passing right down through the floor as you're going right down deeper, sitting in a very relaxed, comfortable position, and now it stops and you're down into the basement. Now as you come forward and stand up, there's one door over there, and it says the room of nothingness. And so you walk to the door, turn the knob, and step inside. And now as you do, your eyes kind of narrow down, and you hesitate because it's very dim in this room as the door closes behind you. And a kind of strange feeling beneath your feet, and that's because you're standing on a foam rubber pad which is 3 inches thick. Now the door is closed, your eyes slowly become accustomed to the gloom. It's kind of a rosy glow in the room. And you take a few more steps in, you decide to just sit down. And so now you sit down, you feel this soft foam, 3 inches thick. It's cradling you so comfortably, you just decide to lie back and to lie down. And now all the light is gone. And the room is filled with nothingness. And as you lie there, that nothingness moves across your mind. Your mind is filled with nothingness. I'll count from 1 to 5. At the count of 5, eyelids open, fully aware, feeling wonderfully good. 1, slowly, calmly, easily, and gently returning to your full awareness once again. 2, each muscle and nerve in your body is loose and limp and relaxed. You feel good. 3, from head to toe, you're feeling perfect in every way. On number 4, your eyes begin to feel sparkly and clear. On the next number now, eyelids open, fully aware, feeling wonderfully good. Number 5, eyelids open now. Take a deep breath, fill up your lungs, and stretch. How many were able to just let their mind be filled with nothingness until that was the only thought, that you don't have any thoughts? Raise your hand. Look around. Just about everyone in the room. That's the answer to your question. Everyone has a capacity to clear their mind at any time they wish, if they only decide to use it. Now we've just about run out of time, and I have one more thing that I want you to do. I want you to take just a moment, conceptualize your thoughts about the time we've spent together. Then I'm going to have you come up here quickly, sit in this chair, and speak your thoughts. We'll give you anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute. Who would like to begin? All right, then we'll appoint you. You start, sir. Come right up here. Yes, an evaluation.
Okay.
And speak as if I'm not here. You can speak about the teacher and about the program. The camera will be on you, and speak to the microphone.
My feeling about the 2 days was that it was interesting from beginning to finish. The point that I would like to see have done differently was to make perhaps the self-hypnosis book a required reading so that we could have gotten into more of the experience quicker. So it would have let you spend more time in any instruction that you can't get out of the book, and less time in the explaining that I think you could get out of the book.
All right, wonderful, thank you. That's a valid point, and yet there's another side to it. 3 weeks ago, I participated in a seminar for small publishers, small meetings, annual sales under $3 million. I subscribed to a newsletter that this man who specializes in this field, which is $88 a year, and then he sells small portions of information, manuals of 20, 30, 40 pages for $50, $60, $70, $80, $90. And I bought many of those. I knew from reading much of what he said. But when I went to the seminar, it became life for me. And the very first thing I did after finishing the seminar was to take a certain business action that saved me $4,400 on a book I was about to print. You see, because I revealed that I was very happy with the book manufacturing company that did my book printing. And he just bore in something I'd already read, that you must get a minimum of 3 bids on every book you print. Because for a great variety of reasons, there are different prices out there for the same quality. And so I went home and did that, and I got a bid $4,400 under. That's what going to that seminar for 3 days gave to me in the first day home. I paid $500 for the seminar, and I had read previously just about everything that man said in the 3 days. So there is a difference. It's a difference between reading a play and going to the theater and experiencing the play. Yes. All right? Let's get someone else up here. I'd like it on the basis of volunteer, but if not, we'll call someone. Here's a volunteer. Come on. We'll just have you hold that. How's that?
Okay. I guess for me, the real benefit of the last 2 days, it's not an issue of critique, but of personal response.
Right.
A lot of reading or discussion about positive thinking has come about, but I never really found a way of internalizing it. And I think that what I got out of this was the method of, in fact, internalizing it through the tapping that deeper stream of consciousness, where thoughts of positive aspects of your life or goals or being goal-directed hit that surface consciousness and got lost with all the other flack that's in there. And getting into the level where that flack is gone, where you can see more clearly, is the thing that I found to be so beneficial in tying this self-hypnosis to the positive imagery.
Thank you. Very well said. Someone else. Quickly now. Time is running out.
Well, I'm very excited about my participation in the class, and I got out of it what I intended to get, which was a method of, like the gentleman just said, tapping that inner source that you know can answer all the questions that you've ever had in life. And I think now with this ability, I can look for and conquer my problems.
Well said. Thank you. Someone else. What?
Well, I was always fortunate in growing up that my parents were both always positive, expressing thoughts that I should be a positive thinker, that, my mind can do anything I want. And I took all that in, but I never really had a way of utilizing it or getting into that type of consciousness myself. And with the hypnosis tapes I had previously, I was getting a hint of it, but now I'm really getting a grasp on what I want to do and a way to go about doing it.
Thank you. Someone else, quickly? Come up, sir.
Before I came here today, I knew that I was ready for a change in my life. In the past 2 days, I realized how to go about affecting that change, and with the enthusiasm and the wonderful attitude of Gil, I know that it would have been a big help. It will be a big help, and I will affect that change in my life.
And I believe you. One more. I was hoping you'd go up. Just had a feeling you would.
These past 2 days have refreshed me and rejuvenated me in a way that I haven't ever experienced before. I want to thank Gil Boyne for showing me these techniques, and I'm looking forward to seeing clearly and realizing my fullest potential. I'm excited.
Thank you. And I said when I began that I'm excited. I'm more excited at the end than I am at the beginning, because through what we shared, as these people just said, their use of these tools now begins to enhance and enrich their life. More importantly, I'm excited because I'm doing what I want to do and what I like doing and what I do best. I'm utterly convinced that this is the best effort that I can make, the most important thing in my life. It's number one. And so that brings a sense of excitement and happiness to me. Also, I know I'm going to meet many of you again in one context or another. And there's going to be some very rich friendships come out of this experience. So I thank you all for being here and for giving me that opportunity to serve you. I said earlier that the name Boyne is an Irish name, and so it's appropriate to close this weekend with an ancient Irish prayer, which goes like this. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the rain fall gently on your fields, and the sun shine warm upon your face. Until we meet again, may the good Lord hold you in the hollow of his hand. Thank you. Good night.